ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back once again to the Inside Analysis Big Data Ecosystem. We're taking demos from all the cool vendors in this space, and today we're very pleased to have IBM on the line. We've got Jonathan Healy and Kimberly Madia to show us what they've got. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you guys to show us what we're looking at. This is pretty cool stuff, so take it away.
All right, thank you very much. So as you'll see here, we have a map, and this is a map of New York City. And what we want to show here is how organizations can radically transform the way they do marketing. So in this example, we're going to take the example of a gourmet grocer. And we know that the grocery space, the retail space, is very, very competitive. Margins are tight. There's lots of new vendors popping up. And traditional ways of doing marketing, like sending a mailer out to people's homes, just isn't going to cut it anymore. We have to have real-time marketing campaigns that are driven by all kinds of big data. So what we have here is an example of people moving around in the world. So all these blue circles that you see represent people walking around New York City. And what makes this new era of real-time data exciting is we're going to be able to harness data that's streaming from people's devices to be able to give them more personalized service. So what we want to do as a grocer is we want to be able to figure out who's near us, who's near our grocery store, and who's opted in to receive our marketing campaigns. So we simply, as a grocer, draw a circle around people, figure out who's opted in, and know that these people want to hear from us and they want to receive an offer. And in this case, we're going to take the offer of a delicious chicken dinner. And what's making this service possible is telecommunications providers are transforming their business models and allowing gourmet grocers to have access to data about geospatial position and about people who have opted in to receive marketing offers. So what we want to do is we want to marry this geospatial position of where people are on the map to other kinds of data we might have about them. For example, their propensity to stop in and products and services they are likely to buy. So the trick, the key here is to be able to feed the streaming data about geospatial position on a map into our SPSS models.
Okay. So, as Kimberly mentioned, this is Jonathan Healy. I work for IBM SPSS, the predictive piece of the analytics, business analytics team at IBM. And as Kimberly mentioned, our goal today is to make these kind of offers to customers in real time. So to make that kind of a choice, there's really three things you need to know where your customers are right now. And ideally, you'd also like to be able to use analytics to understand where they're likely to be in the future, how likely are they to hang out, and where are they going to go next. And then in addition, as Kimberly mentioned, you want to know which customers are interested in the different types of offers that you have available. And we do that using analytics. So what I'm showing here today is IBM SPSS Modeler. This is our data mining workbench for building and deploying predictive models. So in the first case, we're going to look at that question. Where are our customers now? And more aptly from an analytic perspective, where do our customers typically hang out? So to do that, we start with simple location data. It really is, it's just a stream of metrics, somebody saying, here I am, here I am, here I am. It's just, the volume is enormous of this data if you're tracking all your subscribers. And what we find is this is very powerful to be able to get this kind of a data, but it's very difficult to analyze in its raw form. It really is just a stream of measurements. And so we've developed at IBM a technique called space time boxes that we use to aggregate and organize this data in a way that can make it more useful for analysis. And what we do with the space time box is we quite literally take that whole stream of continuous measurements and chunk it out in discrete blocks. Here's an area, here's a period of time, and we can then answer questions like, how many customers are in this particular region right now or have been in this region within the past 15 minutes? Or how often does this particular subscriber hang out in a given area? And obviously in the case of the retailer, I'd be interested in knowing about the customers who are hanging out near my stores. And so this allows us to do that by specifying our longitude, our latitude, what the area is that I'm looking, the size of the chunks, and the period of time that I want to use to define that hangout. So when we put this all together and run it, we can derive from that a number of different metrics. So we can, for each subscriber now, rather than simply having a whole stream of measures, we know where they've hung out, how frequently they've hung out in different areas in the past week. And I should mention, this is not real-time data at the moment. This is historical data, where they've been in the past 7 days, up to and including the present moment. So where have they hung out? Where did they hang out most often? Where are they currently? And where is their favorite place to hang out? So that information in that aggregated form is the first input to our decision as to what to offer to who. The other thing we want to know, as Kimberly mentioned, is what types of offers are these customers interested in, or more bluntly, who likes chicken in the case of the chicken dinner. And we do that, again, using SPSS Modeler. We build, in this case, it's a model. We look at their demographic, loyalty data, usage data to figure out what types of customers have typically responded to similar offers in the past. And we can use that to make a prediction as to how likely they are to respond to an offer for a given service right now. So that's the propensity model that drives that analysis. Now, how do we take the two things and put them together to decide what to offer someone in real time? And that's where a product called analytical decision management comes into play. What analytical decision management allows us to do is to combine the different models that we may have built to give us insight with business rules that tell us what things make sense, and then use optimization to decide, given our rules and constraints, what is the best thing to do right now. So first of all, we want to make sure that everybody we send it to is actually opted in for the service, so we simply have a check to make sure that we're only sending offers to those who have said that yes, they want to opt in for this type of service. Everybody else is screened out by this global rule. After that, we then say, what are the different types of offers that we can make to them? Maybe it's a chicken dinner, but of course, that grocer is not our only customer, because this process now is driven by the telco in combination with the vendors. So we've got, obviously, we have the luxury grocer, but we also have other vendors selling golf lessons, fitness camps, wine tastings, other types of services that our subscribers might also be interested in. So for each of these offers, we can then use a combination of rules and models to determine who might be eligible for which offers. So in the case of the chicken dinner, we're looking for people who are nearby and hungry is kind of the way we phrase it, but literally that means either they are near one of our stores right now, or they have a history of hanging out in the area of one of our stores, and they also have, according to the propensity model, they're likely to want a chicken dinner. So then we can also look for other types of offers. For each of these, there's different conditions that might determine who is a candidate for this one or that one, and based on that, we can now tailor those offers to figure out who's candidates for which things. At the next step, we can then figure out, of all the different things that a given customer might be eligible for, what's the best thing to do for them? Because in some cases, somebody might be nearby and hungry, but they also might be a candidate for the fitness offer. And we want to choose the offer. We obviously have obligations to different vendors we need to meet. We also want to make sure we're giving each of them the customers who are best suited to their particular service, and we want to do it in a way that maximizes our profit. So what we do is we look at, for a given customer, what is their probability to respond, how much revenue would we gain if they did, and of course, what is our cost in making and that offer and delivering that service. And we then can go out and say that choose the customer who is most profitable for each offer based on that. And so if we take this application as we've configured it and run this on a sample of customers just to kind of see how the rules play out, we can see that this is looking at 103 customers in this sample data set. Well, 103 of them that actually opted in based on the global selection. Out of those people, 45 of them were actually eligible for an offer based on their location and their propensity. We can then break it out to see by offer how that plays out. There's more than, you notice that total number was more than 45 because some people were eligible for multiple offers. But then in the prioritization step, we screen it out to see these are the offers that we're actually going to send. And you can also see, I'm going to show results before. So we can see that for example, there were 16 customers who were eligible for the chicken dinner offer, but only 15 got it because for one of those customers there was some other offer that was actually a better choice for them. Similarly with the wine tasting, there were a large number of customers who were eligible, only a small number have got it. I'm guessing a lot of the wine tasting people might have gotten the chicken dinner offer instead. And so that's how we can use that to kind of reconcile across our portfolio what are the different things we're sending, once we're happy with that, we now put the application in production, and that allows us to go back out there in the field. So now, as we target these customers, we look at who's out there and who's available, and then we can see who's actually going to get offers in real time as they're being sent out to the different individuals. And that's the end of the demo.
That's some pretty cool stuff. So maybe you could kind of dig into how you're gathering that data. I mean, I guess what you're doing is you're combining information about these various offers with specific details that you have on the opt-in folks. So is there like a profile per person, or how does that work?
That's an excellent question. So we're combining. The one thing that when I was using SPSS Modeler, at that point we were looking at historical data. So we've got real-time data that tells us where our customers are now. We've got historical data from our loyalty program, from their usage portfolio that tells us where they've been in the past, demographics. We know different things about the customer in terms of when they buy that phone service. We're able to find out some basic demographics. We know how long they've been our customer, what types of services they have. Now, the thing that combines them is the subscriber ID, or really the phone ID in this case. It's actually linked to the mobile device. But the point is, we're able to track the phones in real time. That's kind of the system of engagement, as we would say, out there in the field, using InfoSphere to know where they are now. Our systems of record, which is our more conventional databases where we know for each customer, what have they bought in the past, how long have they been our customer, and all those things. And so really it's by overlaying those two types of data, the data that you get out in the field today with the system of record, that's what allows us to put the two together to create this differentiating capability. And this slide I'm showing just kind of summarizes at a very high level. So the sense piece, we use InfoSphere streams to sense what is happening right now. Where are these customers? Again, we're tracking that by mobile ID. We use IBM SPSS Modeler to then build models, now looking at historical data from our system of record to understand where they've been in the past, what things they've bought, to predict what those patterns are in terms of who's likely to want what and who's likely to go where. We then use analytical decision management to decide, based on all that insight, combined with their current location, what offer are we going to make to each customer right now, and then finally we act, and in this case the action is shown on the map where we see the offers going out to actual customers in real time.
Cool. And I'm guessing that a grocery store, for example, could use their Saver card or whatever they call it, and some of that data would be pretty darn useful in understanding customer interactions and who may want this kind of product, who may want that kind of product. Is that the kind of data that can be used to fuel this sort of operation?
Absolutely. That is exactly what's happening. And that the data that the grocer would have from that loyalty card, that's what would be informing that predictive model for the propensity model to say, as we put it, who likes chicken. You know, I actually kind of used to like to do this with my grocer. I would actually do things like I'd get all these coupons each week when I swipe my card, and then I would have certain rules that I would follow for a period of time where I'd say which offers I had a rule. If a coupon's worth less than $1, I'm not using it. I don't care. It's not worth the time to me. So I kind of did that and watched over time to see how smart they were about figuring out what I was going to do and what I wasn't going to do. And my grocer, I stopped doing this a couple of years ago, but my grocer a year or two back wasn't all that smart about it. They did pick up on certain things. But you can certainly see as you buy certain products, you'll get cross offers for related products, and that's exactly what's happening. But here we're using advanced analytics to combine that with other types of data to make that process much smarter than frankly it's been in the past for most of at least in my experience. But that's
great.
Exactly what's happening.
And also pulling in. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and also thank you. And also pulling in, the real-time component with the geospatial position is something new that we're really trying to get off the ground as well. Because the idea of is, you know, you've got someone on the way home from work, it's about dinner time, they might not come in normally, but if you're able to capture their position and marry it with the loyalty data that you have, it might be a new opportunity for you.
Wow.
Rather than just having, you know, like I said, someone standing outside your establishment with a sign or handing out flyers, or you have a cool windsock. You know, we call it the drive-by consumer. And it doesn't have to be a person in the car. You know, they could be strolling by or walking by. So, and that's where the InfoSphere Streams comes into, you know, parse and analyze that streaming data. And geospatial position is one streaming source, but there's others.
And how do you deal with all the different form factors, meaning the Samsungs versus the iPhones versus whatever else someone may have, a Windows phone for whoever has one of those? How do you handle that? Is it just that you understand, you can kind of sniff out who has what kind of phone and adjust the wrapper accordingly, or how do you deal with all the different kinds of devices that people have?
Right. Well, we have something called the Telecommunications Accelerator Toolkit that was actually developed by IBM Research. So you're right. Then the intelligence for the different kinds of phones, the different formats, that's all handled through an analytic accelerator pack that is sold with InfoSphere Streams. So it takes a smart person to do that extraction, normalization, aggregation of data. And so we provide that to our customers through that accelerator.
Cool.
But yes, it's built in. And with InfoSphere Streams, you know, the Telco Accelerator Pack is just one of other kinds, and we have other kinds of accelerator packs like text analytics, like messaging, and the complex event processing. There's a whole bunch of them. But with Streams, we have what we call connectors, and pretty much any data source you can think of, we have a connector into the streaming platform. You know, HTTP, MQTT, RSS, any feed you can think of, we can ingest, and then with our analytic packs, you know, remove that burden from the customer and do that for you.
That's good stuff. So you guys are really combining a lot of the best technologies. I mean, real-time streaming, geospatial, predictive analytics in terms of what somebody wants. This is a great example of the confluence of all these different technologies, right?
That's the goal for real-time actionable insight is the marketing category. But yes, that's right. That's the goal.
Wow. That's good stuff. I think this is really very, very impressive. And in terms of uptake, I'm guessing this is pretty early stage stuff now, but I have to think that lots of grocers like Whole Foods, for example, or any of the ones that I go to have got to be paying attention to this stuff. Do you guys have any sense for, you know, how quickly it's going to be taken up and put into use and so forth, or any kind of general idea of how fast the market's going to move?
Well, from a Streams perspective, we do have multiple clients who are deployed and doing well. And I have a couple of examples on a slide. They tend to be in healthcare, in utilities, and in telecommunications already. So we've actually experienced double-digit revenue growth, and the market, I think, is really opening up. We're seeing a lot more competition. We're seeing more rapid adoption. The reason we focused on the retail here in this example is because they're a little bit smaller and a little bit, I don't want to say behind, but not as quick to adapt to some of the big data technology. So this is going to be our second wave. It's going to be focusing in on retail. So I think the adoption is going to be quick. I think the market is growing. I think streaming analytics, even 2 or 3 years ago, people didn't quite understand what it meant. Today, I think it's becoming hot. So I think personally, we're seeing the growth, and we've had strong success in telco, in healthcare, and in energy and utilities. And so, you know, the reason we wanted to show this demo and use the example of retail is we're seeing that coming up as the next emerging area.
Yeah, this is great, folks. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just we do have some customer examples we're going to speak to a little later, and I can advance to that slide if it's helpful. The thing, and just from in terms of my own experience, a few years ago we would show similar types of demos, maybe not with the full real-time capability, but just related types of things around predicting and acting, and a lot of customers would look at it and say, that's really cool, we'll probably be doing that someday. And I think now, just out in my experience speaking with customers, there's much more of a reaction of, yeah, we need to be doing this right now. And then we've got examples of customers who are as well. So it's this is a big idea whose time has come.
Yeah, that's great. If you want to show those customers during the demo, feel free to pop that slide up.
There's not a great way to zip to the end of this deck because it's just a PDF. Here we.
Yeah, and you can post the PDF alongside the demo as well. But this is it's great to see such a good example of all these really powerful technologies coming together and creating something that works. I mean, this is really, it seems to me, this is the synthesis of a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about for the past 10 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll talk to a couple of these, and Jonathan will as well. So CenterPoint Energy, they're in Houston, and I'll have to send you a URL where you can watch Dr. Pratt from CenterPoint share his story. He shared it at our conference. But, you know, they had 2 million smart meters that they automated and were able to provide feedback in real time to customers around usage patterns. So the customers knew when to turn off their AC and when to run the dishwasher to save energy. And the savings there for customers, you know, was $20 million they were able to save their customers. And they were also able to do more predictive maintenance and solve problems electronically, so they didn't have to deploy a crew and deploy a truck. It's been interesting working with CenterPoint because I'm learning a little bit about the energy and utilities business, but in the old days, if anyone reported a problem, they would always have to deploy a truck and a crew, which is the most expensive way to solve a problem. And they would send it out to the site. It may or may not require that crew there, but they had to send it anyway because they didn't know what else to do. Now with the predictive analytics, with increased instrumentation of the smart grid, with proactive alerts and analysis on the streaming data, they can solve those things electronically first. And a side effect of this is a more green environment. They're saving 700,000 gallons of fuel. So cost benefit for CenterPoint, not having to spend that fuel, and benefit for the environment, we're not polluting. It's a lot of gas.
Wow.
And the other example is Emory University. And if you've ever heard of Dr. Timothy Buckman, you know, he comes up on a Google search. He's really a visionary in this area, and he's trying to implement what he calls the ICU of the future. And he really noticed that an ICU patient, think of all the devices they're connected to, blood pressure, respiratory, heart rate, and this data wasn't being kept. It was spewing, and once they had reached the limit, they would just overwrite the logs or throw the data away. And he found if you had a skilled practitioner, a nurse, or a physician who could actually take time, look at the data, you might find early indications of problems before an alert or an alarm would be sounded. So he had the idea of, well, let's go ahead and capture this data and analyze it in real time so that we can have the InfoSphere streams and the IBM technology analyze the data faster and more efficiently than a human could. And we may or may not decide to persist or store the data, or we may or may not decide to send an alert. So it's a way to find subtle early indications of future problems to prevent them before they happen, and then also be able to kind of create a super alarm where you're aggregating all these different alarms to act at the right time. And they're analyzing hundreds of thousands of data points per second. And I should say this doesn't require huge investment in infrastructure. In this case, it was done from a single laptop for an entire ICU. So
wow.
He's an inspirational guy. And like I said, definitely Google him. He's been speaking a lot at a lot of the data conferences.
Cool stuff. Well, this is all great, folks. Thank you so much for such a good demo and also giving us some information on real-world examples. It's nice to see not just good ideas, but those ideas in action. Well, folks, we've been talking to Jonathan Healy and Kimberly Madia from IBM, and this is fantastic stuff here in the big data ecosystem. I think so far you guys have pieced together the most comprehensive solution that we've recorded, so good for you. All right, guys, this has
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Another demo in the big data ecosystem at Inside Analysis. We'll catch up to you next time, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.